I think a lot of founders will agree it's hard to have time to trade. Now the institutions are BlackRock, Fidelity, all the big asset managers, the exchanges, the index companies. And so the institutions are truly here. There's a lot of smaller of an industry then. And I was surprised that there was no like VIX index for crypto.
They have this very strong advantage that they already have this full ecosystem. Hey, Cole, good to have you here, man. Today we have lots of things to discuss, so I'm very excited for this episode. Can you maybe start by introducing yourself?
My name is Cole. I'm the founder of Volmex Labs. At Volmex, we build the leading Bitcoin volatility index, which we're most well known for, called BVIV and BVIV US. We have a number of different indices, rates indices, other families coming soon. And our data, BVIV is available on Bloomberg Terminal, Refinitiv, TradingView, CoinMarketCap, IBIT. We make it really easy to track implied vol and then also trade it. We have 8 contracts across Polymarket, Bitfinex, and Gains. And we've really built this, emerging standard for the Bitcoin volatility index.
That's huge. And so you are the founder of this firm. It was your initial idea, I guess?
Yep. We've been working on this for about 5 years, and it's been a great journey. Basically, I have been following the options market my entire life. My dad actually works at a U.S. equity options exchange, and trading, in my personal account a bit. And I was surprised that there was no like VIX index for crypto, and that was kind of the precipice for building, Volmex and BVIV.
Yeah, you've been in the space for a while, by the way. I think you were employee number 2 at Staked. I think it was back in 2019, if I'm correct. So like the early days of institutional crypto. How did that experience impact you to build what you're doing now at Volmex?
Yeah, working at Stake was a lot of fun. Basically worked there for a little bit more than 2 years, kind of blitzscaled that business ahead of the acquisition by Kraken. So yes, that's actually very good thing about it. It was one of the first, more institutional sort of businesses in the crypto market. Basically, they were a staking company that had a lot of good backers, and largely around the same time, I was very involved in the DeFi space, and so I ran a meetup in New York and had some sort of events around DeFi. Early, founders spoke there, including like Hayden from Uniswap and a number of others. And so it was a really fun time. Kind of meeting. There was a lot of smaller of an industry then. I remember going to ETH Denver in 2020, and there was 1,000 people there, or maybe it was 2019. There was 1,000 people there. It was extremely small, and so it was really cool being part of this tight knit community. But largely working at Staked was a lot of fun. It was a new industry. Kind of got to do new things that were kind of evolving with at the time, and it taught me a lot about sales and go to market and just kind of product in general. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and maybe a question about that before we go way deep in the details about what you do now. Would you say, and like I guess the answer is yes. Like if I ask, did the industry change a lot since when you started? But how would you say it changed since 2019? The institutional crypto industry is nothing comparable. It was only a bunch of, I guess, very niche guys into niche things like the Uniswap builders or very niche industry back in the days. And now we have like all the big guys who came in, and some of the smaller guys managed to survive. So what would you say is the main change in terms of how the industry evolved since 2019?
Yeah, crypto looks a lot different from what it did then. Back then, ETH for a while was around $100, $200. Toward the bear market of 2019, and so in 2020, and so there was just kind of this inflection point at the 2020 sort of COVID crash, and things really crashed, and then they sort of rebounded substantially with a lot of the money printing and everything. But generally, I would say, the industry had a lot less real institutions in it at that point. institutions then might be considered a crypto hedge fund with a couple $100 million, or
Yeah.
you know, a venture capital firm that's an early investor in different protocols and companies. Now the institutions are BlackRock, Fidelity, um, all the big asset managers, the exchanges, the index companies, and so the institutions are truly here now. I think that's something that people talked a lot about. Then of say, hey, the institutions are coming, but yeah, it's evolved a lot since then, and with the growth of like the IBIT complex between like the spot IBIT and the options, I mean, and Fidelity's FBTC, um, looks a lot different now. And so the institutions of yesteryear of 2019 were, much different than the institutions we think about today.
Yeah.
And, the sentiment was, I think obviously I'm a true believer in crypto and Bitcoin and sort of digital asset space. But I think a lot of people were questioning, like, will this industry still be here? Because, in the lull of in the bottom of the sort of bear market, it was, it looked very, the market was very apathetic, and Bitcoin was, $3,000, and it just come off
Yeah.
$20,000 in 2017. And so the market looked a lot different. The attitude was a lot different. It was much less institutional. And also there was a sort of sentiment in retail that, will this thing exist? And so crypto hadn't weathered, 10 years of market at that point. Now in 2026, Bitcoin has been around for quite a long time. Smart contracts have been around for quite a long time. And, we know this industry is here to stay, obviously, but I
Yeah,
think a
it's very
lot,
hard to imagine a future without blockchain and crypto now.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, maybe to take a step back on what you're doing at Volmex, maybe for the some people who don't know. So I guess a very simple way to put it is BVIV is VIX for crypto.
So that's precisely right. BVIV is a 30-day implied vol index that uses the global options based on Deribit, OKX, and soon more exchanges. And so basically, we come up with this global 30-day implied vol index that looks at the entire options landscape. I know you guys just recently launched options at Paradex, so congrats. The team's been growing. Would love to do some product partnership around that. Shout out to Anon. We should talk. But yeah, BVIV is a 30-day implied vol index. It goes up when the market is fearful, and
Mhm.
so it generally measures expected risk, expected volatility in the crypto market. Um, it's widely integrated, as mentioned, with some of the integrations that I talked about. We also have BVIV US, which is based on IBIT options, which are the most liquid, regulated options product linked to Bitcoin, or something like Bitcoin with IBIT in the US market. And so IBIT, so BVIV is very similar to the VIX, but for Bitcoin and IBIT.
Okay. And so VIX is often called the fear index, and you mentioned it goes up when the fear is high. Maybe are there any specific events in crypto that made your index go up like crazy? Maybe 1010. How did your index behave on 1010?
Yeah, definitely like all the big moves for Bitcoin to the downside. So 1010, February 5th, just a couple months ago, we were actually live through the FTX crash. We've really built this most battle tested, most integrated, and sort of longest running Bitcoin vol index. We have a lot of data. But yeah, during these big vol events, you typically see a very large move to the upside for BVIV. It reacts to the spot market and the options market, sort of the negative price action there, and you'll see BVIV increase sharply. Um, Crypto is interesting because it's a risk asset. You'll often observe that when the market is bullish, you can also see some spot up vol up, sort of like positive
Mm.
spot vol correlation. And so it's always negatively correlated in times of fear, but extreme fear, but it can also go up in times of greed. So it really measures expected volatility, whether it's to the upside or downside, but obviously very persistent negative correlation when the market is fearful. And so, yeah, we've seen a bunch of big moves. It feels like it happens a couple times a year where you see that very, very large move. But there's other smaller moves where you can observe a spike in BVIV. So it's pretty interesting to follow.
Yeah, I mean, crypto is still a market with, it's crazy to say, but we have a couple black swan events a year at this point. So what makes, I guess that makes BV very different from VIX in general. Like on a normal year, VIX will not move that much, maybe a couple times, but never above 50 or 60. While BV might go crazy a couple times a year. Is that the case?
It's a good question. Would like to look at the data actually to see like how many times per year it is on average that VIX sees, let's call it like a 10 to 20% move, and same thing for BVIV. Actually, my gut kind of tells me it's around the same. It feels like it's,
Yeah.
depends on the year, but like one, two times a year, you can see that massive black swan. And so on 1010, VIX and BVIV both saw a spike. On February 5th, as I remember, BVIV was up substantially, but there wasn't really like an equity market catalyst that drove VIX. And so typically I would say when there, a lot of these Bitcoin moves are rooted in like macro, sort of, macro price action and sort of things happening in the macro sort of in the world that drive VIX and drive the stock market and drive Bitcoin, and drive BVIV, to spike. But uniquely on February 5th, there was a confluence of crypto specific things that drove the market, and VIX did not see the same move. And so they often move together, but I feel like the amount of times per year that they do move is roughly the same. It feels
Okay.
like that. You need to look at the data.
Okay. So you mentioned that you recently launched the BVIV US, which is based on IBIT options. Why is it a separate index instead of just embedding IBIT into BVIV?
Yeah, it's a great question. So IBIT options trade regular trading hours right now. Hopefully in the future they trade, sort of 24/7, but they trade from, 9:30 to 4, right? Like during the
Mhm.
normal stock market hours. And so um, basically the IBIT options are also, not they're just not fungible with the global options market, right? Where they trade at a slightly higher premium due to like stronger counterparty, with this sort of clearing setup, and sort of the public nature of the different exchanges, ICE and Nasdaq and the others. And so um, basically, BVIV US, yesterday was at like 43, and BVIV was at around 40. And so it trades at a couple vol points, above BVIV. And
Mhm.
so, these markets don't trade 24/7. They're not priced the same way. And so in general, it's just not fungible. And so we decided to roll a new index, and BVIV US is basically our index, which is focused on sort of US regulated data and working on building, products that are kind of linked to that are unique to folks that might want to access that type of exposure. And so yeah, we have two indices on TradingView and Bloomberg and Refinitiv. BVIV is under BVIV, and BVIV US is under BVUS. And so I think it's really interesting to follow the delta between the two as well, and understand that BVIV US is slightly above BVIV in terms of vol points.
Mm. Yeah, and I think since December of last year, there is more open interest on IBIT than on Deribit now on the options. So the market structure is changing a lot, and it's different, as you said. There is probably more implied vol on the IBIT options than on Deribit. Um, from your position, do you see any particular like difference in terms of the players who are investing in one or the other? Difference in terms of the market structure, in terms of the impact that happens on both of these markets?
I think that both are super important. IBIT and Deribit have the most open interest, respectively, on product or exchange, and I think there's just been this gravitation towards IBIT for U.S. investors and traders, which traditionally haven't been able to access, Deribit, OKX, which are awesome platforms, but just haven't been available in the U.S. And so I think that the growth with IBIT is really interesting. It gives U.S. investors, traders, institutions the ability to access optionality on and vol on Bitcoin. And so Yeah, it's been growing very quickly over the last 18 months. As of the last I looked at the data about 10 days ago, IBIT was at like 30 billion and Deribit was about the same. And so, yeah, it's pretty wild to see, following the crypto options market for a long time. It's cool to see that, IBIT has grown so much in the last 18 months post launch. IBIT options launched at the end of November in 2024 or mid November. And so I guess it's been exactly like 18 months or a little bit more since they've been live. And yeah, it's been awesome to see like how much it had grown. It's very surprising.
How would you explain it trades at 3 points higher than on Deribit from your index?
I think it comes back to like there being some premium for like wingy options. You know, uh, that IBIT and the exchanges that it trades on are very large. ICE is $100 billion company, and they have like a clearing, house set up, and so I think that there's just like a premium for that sort of like regulated and transparent, structure. So that's kind of how I think about it. The wings are a little bit more expensive, and um, it's there's a premium in like the vol.
Okay, interesting. But do you think there is more retail trading on IBIT than on Deribit? Because one of the key topics that we've been talking about for years in crypto option is there is no retail in the space. And as we've seen with Robinhood, for instance, retail actually trade lots of options.
I think that there is a lot of retail that's trading up IBIT options through interactive brokers, Robinhood, Schwab, these options houses that have a lot of the like zero DTE, like meme stalkers, type people in the US. And so um, I think that traditionally those type of people have not been able to access the Binances and
Yeah.
OKXs and Deribits of the world. And so making it available in their brokerage in this sort of very simple form factor unlocked a big segment of the market, which was previously, sort of not able to trade Bitcoin derivatives, whether it's perps or options. And so I think that retail are absolutely trading these products. And we've done a little bit of analysis. I would need to look at the latest we had done. But there was a little bit of a difference in behavior of like what you see on Deribit and what you were seeing on IBIT. I think obviously both are great platforms, but maybe the clientele differs a little bit between the two. Maybe more like hedging activity from miners and whales on Deribit because you can post in kind Bitcoin, and then IBIT was maybe getting a little bit more flows from some of the retail traders that were trading zero DTEs or some shorter
Yeah.
dated options from their brokerage. So quite interesting to see the dynamic and how it's evolved.
Yeah. And you mentioned you had over six indexes right now. So are the other one focused on other coins, or is it like more baskets? Can you maybe run us through what do you exactly do?
Yeah, we have over 250 different indices, but
Oh,
like a
wow.
couple flagship indices. We have a bunch of realized vol correlation, interest rate indices, a number of different things. But I would say so we do have BVIV, we have BVIV US, and we have EVIV. So Bitcoin, IBIT,
Yeah.
Ethereum. We have SVIV for Solana. We have XVIV for Ripple, and we have a whole term structure for BVIV and EVIV, and a couple of for different ones for SVIV and XVIV. And so we have BVIV 1 day, BVIV 7 day, BVIV 14 day, BVIV 60 day, of course
Yeah.
30 day, 90 day, and so we have many different indices. We see ourselves as really this kind of index conglomerate for the crypto market that has a number of different families of indices and makes it really easy to track vol and rates and soon other things. And so we have a lot of stuff in sort of R&D development right now, and we'll have some new stuff coming soon, so we're excited.
Can you tell us more about the new stuff coming soon?
I'll wait to share officially from our we'll wait to share it officially from our Twitter, but some stuff that I think could be really relevant to what you guys are doing at Paradex with perps and other structures and regulated products. And so yeah, like we have some cool plans, so we'll definitely share in the next couple of weeks.
Nice. I think I've seen on your Twitter you've been quite active on Hyperliquid, or at least talking about Hyperliquid. Do you plan to do a hype volatility product?
Um, no official plans, but we definitely have some stuff we're thinking about. Uh, as it relates to Hyperliquid with HIP-4, HIP-3. We're getting closer to some partnerships related to those things, specifically HIP-3, which is something we've been thinking about for a long time. And so
Mm.
Hyperliquid is super exciting. I
Mm.
think obviously there's a lot of critical mass around like products there, and uh, yeah, we're excited about Hyperliquid, and we think it's a great platform to trade. BVIV.
So HAP3 would be a perp on BVIV, basically.
Yeah, it's
Perp
something we've been
subject.
working towards for a while. We're getting close to realizing that, and I think it will be a pretty big unlock for BVIV. It will make it really easy
Mm.
to trade it in sort of a familiar format on the Hyperliquid exchange. And so, yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah, that's actually very exciting, I think, because yeah, if I look at it right now, maybe Polymarket is one of the easiest way to access it. So can like, and I guess HAP4 would be the next one. So HIP4, lots of people are talking about it like Hyperliquid launching options, but it's not really options. Um, because it's basically binary options, right? So would there be any like beside having like binary options or like prediction markets on what is BVIV going to be? Do you see any other opportunities looking at HIP4?
I think prediction markets are really interesting. We do have some contracts on Polymarket right now, so we have like a end of the month BVIV May 31st and some yearly contracts as well. Um, I think that prediction markets are a great form factor for derivatives. It makes it really simple. If you think about options, started on, a whole options chain that you would view on your desktop or your laptop. There was, 200 different squares on the options chain. Robinhood took it a step further and said, okay, we're going to fit this on a mobile phone and abstracted it into, 20 squares, 20 units on the grid for the options chain. And then prediction markets came along, took it a step further and order of magnitude more simple and said, okay, it's just a single question and a green and red button. And so I think prediction markets make a lot of sense. And they've definitely gone like fairly mainstream with, the 2024 election and success of Polymarket and Kalshi. And so I think HIP4 is a great way to trade BVIV when it's available there. It's already being traded on Polymarket in a similar way. And yeah, I think there's a bunch of opportunity for HIP4 and Volmex overlap. So something I'm excited about.
Yeah. And how about like beside the opportunity of course to trade BV from HAP4, um, is there any index product or volatility data that you could extract from this prediction market?
It's something that I think is interesting. Obviously, options and prediction markets look pretty similar, but it's something that we would need to think more about. But yeah, HRP4 is super exciting, and I'm excited to see like more markets go live and for them to open it up a bit more. Currently, it is just Bitcoin, sort of one day, but I think they have plans obviously to list more things, and so it's something that we're tracking closely and excited to see it kind of get opened up a bit more.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to see what they can actually come up with to compete with the giants in the prediction market space. But I think they have this very strong advantage that they already have this full ecosystem. So you can probably if you can actually do things from perps to HAP4 to spot or whatever, the combination all of these things can bring so much value, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
it seems like there's a convergence across the prediction market platforms and the perp platforms to, the prediction markets want to launch perps and futures, and the, perps platform Hyperliquid wants to launch, prediction markets. And I guess there's this race to have this fully cross-margined exchange where, you can use the equity in your, your perp positions to trade prediction markets and vice versa. And so it seems like they're all going for this sort of vertically integrated, cross-margined exchange, which I think is a great vision. And hey, there's also other exchanges. Coinbase, they have futures, they have perps, they have spot, and so all these exchanges are kind of differentiating on different fronts and look very similar. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it can scale. How the market evolves and how HIP-4 can scale. So, uh, great question and very interesting.
Yeah. Um, I'm curious about something, by the way. Like, you've been in DeFi for a while, and I think you just mentioned, like, now the exchange of the on-chain exchanges have the ability to trade many different products from the same place, which wasn't the case at all for a while. And I think one of the core products that we've been looking at in DeFi for the last 10 years, or like since DeFi even exists, is Vault. And I think back in the very early days of DeFi and Vaults, we couldn't do many things. Um, and now we kind of see this emergence of the concept of VTFs, what we like to call them that way. It's basically Vault traded funds, which would basically be a vault in which we can run any type of strategy. Because of the underlying tech is DeFi, so you could have, like, for instance, on Hyperliquid, on Paradex, or on any exchange, basically take advantage of the multi product capabilities, the portfolio margin, and be able to package them into a vault and trade any type of strategies. So what do you think about this convergence toward vaults, and obviously the demand for yield, which is driving that? How do you see this vault space evolving, and what do you think of the VTFTs in general?
I think vaults are a great form factor for institutions and retail to access yield products and other structures. And so it makes it really simple to get a particular exposure. Obviously, there's not much flexibility for outside of that exposure. You're kind of investing in a particular strategy. But yeah, I think the advent of like Morpho, some of the other protocols and the work that like Gauntlet is doing, like, is really interesting and allows for retail and traders and investors as well as institutions to get exposures more easily to you know different things. And so yeah, I think it's a very passive and simple product and can potentially onboard a lot of users to DeFi, to yield stuff, to different derivative strategies. I do think that um, vaults need to be super careful. They basically have just bunch of TVL sitting there, and it's something that should be very secure. And a lot of hackers would obviously like to get into the vaults. And so I think vault companies need to be super super careful about that. But overall, it's a good form factor and a great product.
Yeah.
And I think
Maybe
ETFs.
maybe you can answer that. I'm curious about something like in TradFi. What I used to do was I would buy call options on the VIX index when I wanted to bet on like some market dump. And basically, yeah, the easiest way for me to do it was through, like I would do with IBIT. Basically, I would buy call on the VIX ETF. Um, why do people actually trade these ETFs? And do you think in crypto and in DeFi we can solve that through vaults, or just go a step further and use HAP3, for instance?
Yeah, I think I think vaults can have particular strategies, like maybe a short long vol, a short vault on Bitcoin vol, as a long vault on Bitcoin vol would be cool. I think you guys are doing some work in that space with Paradex. I saw Anand's recent interview, saw a bit of it. I clicked through it on the at CoinDesk consensus. But yeah, I think that like vaults can automate strategies. Like different things like long vol, short vol, mean reversion. All of those things could kind of be codified into a vol platform and would be super interesting to sort of roll out to the broader sort of retail, pro-tail, institutional audiences that don't want to kind of manage those strategies themselves. And so I think that's the value of vaults, is that you kind of codify like a more complicated strategy into a more simpler UX and make it more accessible.
Yeah. Um, and to go back maybe on Volmex in general, S&P, which is probably the biggest index company in the world, is 130 billion. It's bigger than CME. how do you look at Volmex in terms of what would be Volmex full potential?
So I do think that the index business is really this, infrastructure which sits in the background of a lot of products, and it's not as consumer facing as an exchange or a brokerage, but it's just as important. And so I think that MSCI is worth 50 billion, S&P is worth 130 billion, maybe half their business is rating. So it's the index business is worth 70, 80 billion. I think that there will be like a decacorn scale company in crypto that is an index focused company and is not an exchange. And so I think that's where we sit, is we've built volatility indices, rates indices, many other indicators. We have a couple different families of indices coming soon. And so I think that we really, kind of fill this void in the crypto market and are this, index focused company that, partners with every type of tradable product, perps, futures, prediction markets, soon more regulated products. And so, basically our indices can be wrapped into any type of wrapper, and we make it really easy to trade them and access them. And so, yeah, I think that, the index company sort of space is kind of underexplored in crypto.
Yeah, I think also because well, it's a hard job, right? The market's fragmented. You have many venues. You have many different type of data. So I think the barrier to entry might be high. Um, but it's also great to see some people like you doing like the hard work and getting things done, especially now that you get the distribution from Bloomberg Terminal, for instance. Congrats to that, by the way. Have you seen, like, since you got integrated into Bloomberg, have you seen lots of institutional demand coming from like more the TradFi world?
It would always come up, like I would be talking to like some TradFi firm and they would say, "Can I pull it up on the terminal?" And for a while it was like, "Hey, we're going to be there pretty soon. We're working on it." Um, but now it's, mid call. A lot of firms will just be like, "Oh, can I view this on Bloomberg?" And they just pull it up and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like it's real and tangible." And so
Yeah.
I think it would be a little bit of something that they would want to see. They would definitely want to see this type of thing previously, and now it's in production and live. And so I think it's been great to have BVIV and BVIV US and EVIV on Bloomberg. It creates institutional sort of uh, legitimacy, and it's very good.
And did you get like I spoke to another firm recently who got integrated into Bloomberg, and they said it opened so many doors from them. So kind of in the same way, but did you also get lots of inbound or like people wanting to reach out and to, I don't know, ask for new products, ask for new indexes, and did you get much inbound from these integrations?
It definitely created a lot of awareness, and it's just creates like legitimacy. And yeah, there's been some inbound from it, so it's been great to be. We're also on Refinitiv, which is the London Stock Exchange's data platform, and so I think between Bloomberg and Refinitiv, these are really the two premier market data platforms in TradFi, and so it brings a lot of legitimacy to Volmex and more distribution. Right, Bloomberg
Yeah.
has something like three or 400,000 users on the terminal. These are all asset managers, traders at banks, big institutions, and so for them to be able to access BVIV, I think, and BVIV US is a huge unlock.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any specific product that you are excited launching?
Um, I think we're really excited for more perps, in the global market. So Hyperliquid would love to do something with Paradex, and I think perps on the bigger exchanges, uh, unlock a lot of volume and traction for us. And so we're excited about that. HIV3 would love to do something with you guys again as well. And yeah, I think there's just like more products that can be built like in the US market, that are in sort of like regulated wrappers. I'll leave it to the viewers and listeners to infer what I'm insinuating. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of stuff that can be built, and we have a lot of big plans. And I would say stay tuned for perps, stay tuned for different other wrappers around BVIV and BVIV US that make it easy to trade the product, and um, would be great.
Are you trading options yourself?
I traded a lot of options in the past. I don't have as much time right now, so I think it's like you're either doing it and you're spending a lot of time on it, or you're not doing it at all. And so right now I'm in, I'm obviously doing a lot of partnerships and product, and so I don't have much time to do options trading, but it's definitely something that I would love to do if I had more time.
And are you just trading, even trading perps, or like my end goal question was, can you use BVIV to kind of help you in your trading decision and to maybe predict the future? If you see BVIV spiking and the market not moving much, maybe you can predict a move with it.
I would love to use it in my portfolio. Right now, just in general, I can't trade as much because I don't have enough time. I'm kind of on calls all day or on product stuff and partnerships. But yeah, if I have more bandwidth, I would love to use it. And obviously, that's why I built this product, is I wanted to use it as a piece of information, as a tradable product. And so it's something that I think is extremely powerful. And when I have more bandwidth, I'm sure I'll use it as a way to trade and supplement portfolio. So yeah, building and running a company is a full time, obviously, and more. And so it's I think a lot of founders will agree it's hard to have time to trade, and because trading takes a lot of time as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can do it poorly like me and just waste your money. Outside of obviously your company and Hyperliquid, are there any specific topics in crypto and DeFi that you're excited about?
Um, I think that yeah, the IBIT growth is super interesting, just like the ETFs coming online and the institutionalization of crypto. There's yeah, Hyperliquid's great. Polymarket and prediction markets are really interesting. I think Kalashi and Polymarket are doing great work, and that's a very interesting space. Watching them kind of go head to head on the sort of very similar product is fascinating to watch. Um, I think you know there's some cool stuff happening across the space. I mean, tokenization, stablecoins, some privacy stuff. I think all of that is important, and I think the institutions are super excited about tokenization and stable coins. That's not a space that I'm as close to right now. I mean, there might be things to do around BVIV there, but um, in general, like all the institutions I talk to have their eye on that. And so yeah, I think that the space is kind of at this juncture where the market's becoming a lot more institutional. All of the big asset managers, investment firms, issuers, index companies, banks, sell side, buy side are all here, and so I'm paying attention to like the institutionalization of crypto. I would say mostly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting angle, I guess, for you because like you need institutions to understand the volatility topic in the first place, I guess, which is more like used for by institutions. Um, but I think overall it's bringing like lots of like this space definitely leads. Even though we can still like agree with the original crypto ethos, we still need like some clarity and some, I would not say regulation, even though I'm from Europe, but I would say like some serious people doing more serious business, and not treating it as like a casino or like a full-on gambling asset class. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think it's a spectrum of trading to investing on more speculative behaviors, like you said, with on the trading side. But you know, Bitcoin is just holding Bitcoin as a investment, right? I mean, if you want to trade sort of binaries that are expiring in 2 days, or options, or highly leveraged perps, that's obviously very risky, and that's trading and might not work out. Most likely will lose money on a long enough time frame. And so yeah, it's a spectrum. I mean, of this, the crypto space is like, there's a lot of good, more investment oriented things, and then there's more degenerate you know activities like trading on high leverage or whatever. So yeah, I think you get a lot of different types of characters in crypto. You get institutions, you have retail traders that are doing that type of stuff, somewhere in the middle. And so it's a cool space. It's very multifaceted, and you get to meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah, cannot agree more with that. Do you have any last word that you want to share?
I would just say we have a lot of big plans coming. We have some new products, new indices, new partnerships, new ways to trade BVIV. We're thinking a lot about the regulated market and the institutional market with BVIV US. And so get excited for the HIP-3 perp on Hyperliquid. We'd love to do something with Paradex. We should talk more offline about that. And yeah, talking to a bunch of different institutional folks about collaborations, and it's quite an exciting time. And so stay tuned for new product announcements, new partnership announcements. Follow us on Twitter, Volmex Finance. You can follow me on Twitter as well. And yeah, we have some big plans, and we're excited about building this premier benchmark index company for crypto.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Cole, for coming today. And yeah, let's definitely chat more.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on. Cheers. Bye.